Slate literally filed a complaint against Jamie Heath for his kindness. Yeah, because they want to weaponize that against him, like Blake weaponizes it against Baldoni.
Jenny Slate has finally spoken up about the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively lawsuit. And let's just say, not everyone is going to like what she had to say. Meanwhile, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, they're scrambling after Justin Baldoni just bagged another brutal courtroom victory. And now, with Jenny Slate's name suddenly dragged into the chaos, things are looking even worse for Blake and Ryan. Blake's case was already hanging by a thread, but now that people have caught wind of what really went down with Jenny, it's starting to look straight up shady. And let's be real, the receipts are not doing Blake or Ryan any favors. From questionable legal filings to accusations crumbling under scrutiny, this whole situation is spiraling out of control. And with this latest Jenny Slate bombshell, it might just be the final blow that takes them down for good. So, what's the drama? Blake's legal team just made a desperate move, trying to paint Jenny as one of the so-called victims from the It Ends With Us set. Yeah, you heard that right. Now, let's break down how Jenny even got dragged into this circus. For those who haven't seen It Ends With Us, Jenny Slate plays Alyssa, the sister of Justin Baldoni's character, Ryle, and sister-in-law to Blake Lively's Lily Bloom. In the film, Alyssa stands by Lily after she reveals that Ryle has been abusing her, encouraging her to leave. Sounds like just another intense on-screen storyline, right? Wrong. Because off-screen, things took a dramatic turn, and Jenny Slate had her own issues with the It Ends With Us set. But here's where it gets real messy. Blake Lively decided to use those complaints to push her own lawsuit.
Slate literally filed a complaint against Jamie Heath for his kindness. Yeah, because they want to weaponize that against him, like Blake weaponizes it against Baldoni.
And now, people are completely stunned after hearing the truth behind Jenny's situation. Even worse? The way Blake documented Jenny's unrelated claims like they somehow proved her case, it's beyond confusing. And here's the kicker. Justin Baldoni wasn't even involved in the so-called incident. That's already been confirmed. But now, word on the street is that Jenny might actually take the stand. And get this, her complaint? It wasn't even against Baldoni. Jenny Slate officially filed a complaint against Jamie Heath for his kindness. Yeah, you heard that right. And now they're twisting it to use against him, just like Blake's been twisting everything to go after Baldoni. But before we even unpack Jenny's wild claims, you need to understand the dynamic between her and Blake on set. Because once you see how these two were moving behind the scenes, this whole courtroom circus is going to make a lot more sense. And here's the first major clue. Just like Brandon Sklenar, Jenny wasn't just another co-star standing by Blake's side. Jenny Slate went all in for Blake when the drama with Baldoni exploded. She didn't just show quiet support. She went public with a full-blown statement, calling the claims in Blake's lawsuit terribly dark, disturbing, and wholly threatening. And she didn't stop there. Jenny doubled down with an even longer message, making it crystal clear where her loyalty stood. She stated, "As Blake Lively's castmate and friend, I voiced my support as she takes action against those reported to have planned and carried out an attack on her reputation. Blake is a leader, a loyal friend, and a trusted source of emotional support for me and so many who know and love her." But here's where things take a wild turn. While Jenny was standing 10 toes down for Blake, the internet wasn't about to let her off the hook that easily. People started digging into her past, and let's just say, she's not exactly looking like an innocent bystander. Suddenly, old clips resurfaced, reminding everyone of a bombshell revelation. Jenny once openly admitted to putting hands on her ex, Chris Evans. But hold on, we'll get into that mess later. Right now, let's break down how Blake pulled Jenny's name straight into her amended lawsuit. Because this part, it's crucial. Listen real close, because here's what went down next. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Baldoni wasn't the only one facing issues when dealing with cast members. The Hollywood Reporter just dropped more details about Jenny Slate's mysterious complaint, the same one referenced in court documents with her name conveniently redacted. And let's just say, the situation is not what people expected. Turns out, the whole thing started over an apartment dispute while filming It Ends With Us in New York City. Here's the breakdown. Jenny, who's based in LA and has a toddler, had to temporarily move to New York for the film. Naturally, she rented a place, but she wasn't happy with it. She complained to Jamie Heath about how the apartment wasn't up to her standards, but moving wasn't an option since she didn't want to lose her hefty $15,000 security deposit.
This Rolling Stone article, they had a quote from some source saying, "I've never worked with a male director who was so worried about everyone's emotional and mental well-being."
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Heath actually tried to help. He told Jenny that Wayfarer Productions would reimburse her lost deposit so she could find a better place. A $15,000 fix. But apparently, the way he worded it did not sit right with her. Sources say Heath used language that emphasized the sanctity of motherhood and Jenny's role as a mother. And that's what sparked the complaint. Sony eventually caught wind of Jenny's concerns and escalated the issue to Wayfarer. But let's pause for a second and really think about this. Jenny was unhappy with her apartment, got an offer to have her deposit fully covered, and instead of saying thank you, she turned around and said she felt violated? Now, this whole situation has been setting the internet on fire for days. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. As a woman and mother, this is so sad and crazy that a woman would complain about a man valuing her role as a mother. And honestly, people are still trying to make sense of it all. Another viral comment put it perfectly. These complaints are so offensive to anyone who has ever been in a situation that was actually threatening. And another person added, Jenny filed a complaint because someone offered to financially help her move so her daughter could be safe. He used the words sanctity of motherhood, and that made her uncomfortable. At this point, people are shaking their heads in disbelief. And get this. In the Rolling Stone article covering the lawsuit, there was a quote from a source saying, "I've never worked with a male director who was so worried about everyone's emotional and mental well-being." People have combed through the so-called offensive moment and the general consensus. It wasn't even HR-worthy. In fact, most people are saying they would literally dream of having a boss who actually cares when they're struggling and steps in to help, but not Jenny. Instead of accepting a good deed for what it was, she flipped it into a whole case of disrespect. Make it make sense. And here's where things get even more layered, because the gesture that supposedly set Jenny off wasn't just about Heath. It actually tied back to both Baldoni and Heath. Sources say Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and co-founder Steve Sarowitz are all part of the Bahai faith. And why does that matter? Because Bahai teachings emphasize the sanctity of motherhood, valuing equality and justice above all else. But instead of seeing the kindness behind their actions, Jenny took offense and called it inappropriate.
Anybody as much as I hit Chris. And when I came back,
who's the one that instigates it?
I don't know what it was, but I never hit anybody in my life. And then I met Chris. I love it.
Here right now. You
Dear listeners,
I slapped him so much. I
Slate,
love it.
7.
We have a. Where's that? Where's that?
I need them to sign
I
release forms.
hit him so much.
injured.
I came back from making our movie and hit some of my friends because I was so used to just hitting Chris all the time, and a couple of my friends were like, you know what? We really don't like it. And I hit my husband, and he was like, nobody likes that. Like, you shouldn't hit people. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. There's only one person.
You know your own strength because you're a strong dude. You're like Lenny from Of Mice and Men.
The other thing, no, is that I realized he was letting me do it.
So, let's get this straight. The complaint had nothing to do with Justin. It was aimed at Heath for being generous and showing concern for her child's well-being. And somehow, that turned into a scandal? This right here just confirms what Sony had already made crystal clear. There were no HR complaints filed against Justin Baldoni. And yet, believe it or not, this is the so-called evidence Blake Lively tried to flex in her amended lawsuit. She was out here claiming she wasn't the only one raising concerns about Justin and Heath during filming. But now that the full story is out, people are saying Blake is doing the absolute most. Because let's be real, if this HR complaint against Heath is what she's calling her smoking gun, it's looking like a serious stretch. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni is still getting massive support. More and more people are jumping ship from Blake's side because, at this point, it's looking less like she's calling out legit misconduct and more like she's just throwing accusations at the wall, hoping something sticks. And guess what? We're still not done with Jenny Slate, because what people just dug up on Jenny, it's way more disturbing than her HR complaint against Heath. Just when you thought things couldn't get worse for her, an old clip of Jenny and Chris Evans on Anna Faris's podcast has started making the rounds. And let's just say, people did not let this one slide. Take a listen. I have never hit anybody. First of all, it's how she talks about it. She's laughing like it's some kind of joke. But let's be real. There is nothing funny about what she's actually saying. Because what Jenny Slate is describing, that's DV. And for those who don't know, Jenny is a comedian. Maybe in her world, laughing about putting hands on her ex is just another punchline. But the internet? They did not find it funny. At all. And this is the person Blake Lively is supposedly holding up as her smoking gun. This is the woman Blake's team is relying on. Someone who filed a whole HR complaint because a man mentioned motherhood and offered her financial help to relocate. This is the person they think will back up Blake's case. Yeah, not the wisest move. And let's be real, it's looking like Blake surrounds herself with people just as tone-deaf as she is. Oh, and here's another thing. Jenny Slate and Chris Evans broke up ages ago, and he has never addressed why. Not once, not the breakup, not the DV. The one time he was asked about it, he straight up said he was steering clear of those questions. And that silence, it speaks volumes. And now, fans are seriously wondering just how bad things got between Jenny and Chris Evans. But hold up, because this next part, absolutely wild. When I found out that Jenny took the $15,000 reimbursement even after filing a complaint, I audibly gasped. She took the money. Woo! All right, shifting gears a bit. Justin Baldoni's team is not playing around. His powerhouse lawyer, Brian Friedman, is working non-stop to clear Justin's name. And honestly, it's getting harder and harder for Blake Lively to escape the heat. You'd think the drama would start winding down as everyone waits for the courtroom showdown. But nope. Instead, it just keeps spiraling further out of control. Because let's be real, Blake's team? They are not about to go down without a fight, even though they've been seriously underperforming at every turn. And now, they're desperately trying to twist the Jenny Slate situation, making it seem like Baldoni's team is running a smear campaign against her. But let's be honest, that's not what's happening at all. The internet, especially TikTokers, who've been knee-deep in this mess from day one, are the ones exposing Jenny's background. Now, here's where it gets even juicier. Word on the street is that Blake's team tried to get Jenny directly involved in their lawsuit, but she wanted no part of it once she saw the whole thing falling apart. And honestly, if that's true, her PR and legal team made the right call. Because let's be real, Jenny is already getting dragged left and right, and she doesn't need to go down with Blake's sinking ship. And yet, despite all this, her true connection to Blake's side is still just speculation. But at this point, people aren't buying the coincidence. A lot of people are saying Jenny Slate just ended her career, all because she got petty and sided with a bully. And let's be real, that DV incident involving her ex, it's only making things so much worse for her. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, is not holding back. He already called Blake Lively's lawsuit amendment underwhelming. Not just because it lacks impact, but because it's practically empty. He straight up said her so-called evidence is nothing but unsubstantiated hearsay from unnamed sources, people who clearly no longer want to stand by her or publicly support her claims. And this next part? Brutal. Friedman made it clear. Documents don't lie. People do. And now, the real bombshells are coming. Because the upcoming depositions, they're about to expose everything. That includes the people who initially backed Blake's false claims and those who've witnessed her own behind-the-scenes behavior. What's truly awkward here? The complete lack of actual evidence from Blake's side. And if Friedman, who has way more intel on this than the rest of us, is saying Blake's former supporters are backing out after seeing the lawsuit crumble, you know things are looking bad for her. But wait, there's more. Because we're also about to get more details on Jenny Slate's situation. And here's the kicker. Friedman confirmed that everyone involved is getting deposed, including Taylor Swift. Oh, and one more thing. It's becoming painfully obvious that some news outlets are not reporting accurately on this case. Either they're rushing to publish without fact-checking, or they're getting called out and scrambling to correct their mistakes way too late. And let's talk about The Hollywood Reporter, because they've been knee-deep in the Blake versus Baldoni drama. But their reporting, it's been all over the place. Take Jenny Slate's situation, for example. At first, The Hollywood Reporter stated that Jenny filed an HR complaint. Then, days later, they silently edited the article to say there was no complaint. Just that Jenny shared an uncomfortable experience, which Blake then used as so-called proof of women feeling uneasy. But then, they flipped again. They edited the article back to their original claim that Jenny did file a complaint. People immediately noticed the inconsistencies and started calling them out. Because let's be real, readers expect credible news sources to get their facts straight before publishing. But instead, The Hollywood Reporter was quietly making changes, probably thinking no one would notice. Well, guess what? The internet always catches on. And I told you, third-party creators, especially those on TikTok, have been keeping tabs on everything. And this, it's not a good look for professional journalism. People have been digging deep to figure out exactly which two women Blake is referring to, the ones supposedly willing to testify against Justin Baldoni. Now, just imagine Jenny Slate taking the stand and claiming she felt uncomfortable because someone offered her $15,000 to move into a better living space. Like, be so for real. So, what happens next? Well, there weren't many women on set to begin with, and at this point, Jenny Slate seems to be ruled out. That leaves Isabella Ferrer. But here's the kicker. According to Baldoni's countersuit, Isabella actually thanked him for creating a safe work environment. So if Blake has another woman in mind, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Also, is it just me? Or does the trial date feel way too far away? Because now we have to wait until March 2026. But in the meantime, the evidence just keeps rolling in, and so far, not a single piece has been in Blake's favor. This whole thing is spiraling and fast. This story is getting wilder by the minute. Stay tuned because I'll definitely be dropping an update. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.